Amend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the Honourable Marianne Street.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I rise to speak in this third reading of a bill which should have enjoyed the support of every party in this House. This is electoral law reform. This is the modernisation of our electoral legislation. This should have enjoyed all the support of the House. We used to have in New Zealand a proud reputation around our electoral systems and the maintenance of them, and the convention that all parties, or at least the vast majority of parties, would support changes to legislation was one that had not been broken until now. And this is a shame, because we ought to have been able to get up and say, yes, we support this bill, because some of the silly things that were originally in it were taken out, such as the prohibitions on streamers and ribbons and balloons and rosettes on election day. That was a silly provision, and that quite rightly bit the dust. But, Mr Speaker, what we have here now is the potential for an improvement that could have put into the legislation the enrolment confirmation card lost. We have that provision, which is the one surrounding the easy vote card, being which could have been put into the legislation, cemented in there, so that nobody could touch it. Not the National Party, not the Labour Party, nobody could touch it. It could stay there and would have had the support of the House. However, it transpired in the course of the consideration of this bill, which I have to say was considered by quite a different makeup, composition of the Select Committee, the Justice and Electoral Select Committee, from the one that had previously considered the review of the last election. So there's been some change of personnel. But in the meantime, the Minister brought to the House a piece of legislation that had in it provisions for the Easy Vote card to be written in. So the Easy Vote card, instead of just being an administrative piece of apparatus, could actually have been part of the legislation. The importance of the Easy Vote card, Mr Speaker, is that it allows people to come without any hindrance, without any obstruction, without any barrier, to present their vote in a polling booth. They can hand over their Easy Vote card and say, this is who I am, or not say it, just hand over their Easy Vote card and simply demonstrate that this is who they are, because they received this in the mail and according to the process. Where we have had in the past the one or two infringements of that practice, Mr Speaker, where the Easy Vote card has been abused, then that has been found. Right. That has been caught out. So there isn't any large-scale evidence, or there isn't any evidence of large-scale fraud of the Easy Vote card. So now we have, in this legislation, we have barriers being put up now. We have a provision now which says that people must go up, they must say their name. Doesn't matter if the polling clerk can't understand it, can't spell it, never heard it before, doesn't recognise the ethnicity of the person coming to vote, or, in the case of one person I know who contacted me yesterday, cannot speak, but they have to say their name and present an enrolment or some other evidence that they are who they say they are, or a way of finding their name on the electoral roll. And then that must be verified. Mr Speaker, what this does is to put barriers in the way of people voting. Everything else in this piece of legislation, Mr Speaker, we could have supported. But why did the Minister not wish to reinstate in the bill the passages that the Select Committee chose to delete, and on reflection, some of us thought that wasn't such a good idea. Why did the Minister not choose to reinstate those provisions? They were there in her original. They were in her original bill. The Select Committee took them out. Some of us reflected on that, thought that was not a good idea, heard the cries of people around us who said, hold on a minute, that's not right, came back to the House with supplementary order papers which would have reinstated those very clauses that had been struck out, which were the Minister's original, and we could have had an harmonious presentation at this third reading of the bill and great support across the House for this bill. But for some reason, the Minister could not see fit to reinstate clauses that she had drafted, had included in the original draft of the legislation. We remain concerned on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, that there is now in this bill a disadvantage to people, an additional barrier that the Easy Vote card would have disposed of quickly. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, the Labour Party will not be supporting this bill at the third reading. We wish we could. We should be able to. It was
I'm
not
sorry
beyond...
to interrupt the honourable member.
Thank you.
The time has come for me to leave the chair. This debate is interrupted and set down for resumption next sitting day. Honourable members, the People's House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 14th of March 2014. Haere rā, kakati anō, good evening.